Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to ELTea Time MENA, which is our coffee break style advancing learning podcast series, where for each episode, I'm joined by a guest, an educator based right here in the MENA region, which is the Middle East and North Africa region. And together for about 30 minutes or so, we will hold a discussion on a contemporary topic of their choosing, usually over a nice cup of tea. It's a little late in the day for tea, I think, this evening. Good evening, Natia. Good to see you. And today I am joined by a very, very special guest, Lhoussine Qasserras. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I never actually asked you.
Yes, thank you.
It's a good pronunciation. I hope so. I don't have the Arabic pronunciation.
So in Arabic is Qasserras. But in English and French, we say Qasserras.
Qasserras. Yeah,
yes.
that sounds French. Because Lhoussine, is it French or Arabic? It's French, right?
It's Arabic.
It is Arabic. Okay. Lhoussine. Sounds like a French name as well. Lhoussine.
Yeah. So there is Al Hassan and Hussein.
Okay.
Basically, these are two names for twins, and I'm a twin.
You are. I didn't know that. That's great. You got a twin. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we are twins. There is Al Hassan, who is also a teacher of English in the US, and I'm a teacher of English and trainer in Morocco.
Wow, that's amazing. There you go. So we're diving into your bio straight away. So let me introduce you at a professional level, because it's great that we're going to get to know you on a personal level in a minute as well. So Lhoussine is a teacher, trainer, and coach, as he just mentioned. He's got more than 16 years of experience. He's the owner and the academic director of the American TESOL Academy, which is based in the capital, Rabat of Morocco. And he's the co-founder of the Global Bus Foundation, which is an NGO. He's trained and coached youth and teachers in multiple countries. He's participated in many international conferences in ELT, both in Morocco and internationally. He's got not one, but 2 master's degrees. He's got an MBA from the Cardiff Metropolitan University, and he's got an MEd from Mohammed V University. That's right, Mohammed V University, right? Yeah, good. He is currently a PhD candidate at, this is the one I'm going to struggle to pronounce, Ibn Tufail University, Kenitra.
Yeah, Ibn Tufail, Kenitra.
Ibn Tufail. And his main interests are TESOL and TEFL, conflict resolution, which I think is a great one, business, quality education, and peace building. He's designed lots of face-to-face and online courses in ELT, such as the 120 hours TESOL TEFL courses in Morocco, and the TOT, which is the training of trainers. And he's wrote multiple articles on ELT and business as well. So he's got loads of experience, and I hope over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be able to draw some of that out of him and get his perspectives on ELT in Morocco and internationally, and the things that he's been doing at the moment. So a really warm welcome and good evening, Lhoussine, and welcome to the podcast. We're super happy to have you with us this evening. Before we begin though, for me, this is normally ELT time, but actually it's 11 p.m. in Dubai. So I've actually got hot chocolate. So I'm getting ready for bed. I actually don't usually see midnight. So everybody's lucky that they're actually getting to see me this evening. Tea, do you like tea? Do you drink tea?
Sure, in Morocco, yeah, it's famous for drinking tea during the whole day. So we drink tea in the morning, after lunch, between Al-Asr and Al-Maghrib, and so our favorite drink in Morocco is to drink tea, especially in the south, and we have different flavors about tea, different ways of preparing for tea.
It's really popular mint tea, isn't it, in Morocco?
Yes, yeah.
You guys pour it really high, they pour it really high, right?
Yeah, in Morocco, we have a full cup of tea or glass, but in Sahara, in the south, just small, way, because in Sahara, it's very hard tea. You have to drink a little bit of it. But in Rabat, Casablanca, and big cities, it's like drinking cola or soda in general. Okay.
Yeah. Nice, excellent, good. So I like teas of all description. Usually I do have, I try different teas in each episode, but because it's so late, I'm having a hot chocolate, getting ready for bed.
Nice.
To the guys who are joining us in the chat box, I see some people saying hi. If you like tea, let us know what is your tea of preference. If you've got tea or coffee with you right now, do let us know. It will be lovely to see what everybody else is drinking. Okay, let's move on to the topic because I know we're a bit struck for time. So the topic today is about looking at ELT as something that extends beyond the English language classroom. And I think that's both for students and for teachers. We know that teaching is more than just a job, probably for the majority of teachers. I'm sure for everybody who's joining us now, they see teaching as something as more than just going to work, going home again. But we also know that being a teacher is incredibly hard work, and time is never a teacher's friend. We also know that most teachers want our students to learn English to be able to use it in the real world, outside of the classroom, not just to, complete the national exams and fill in worksheets. We want them to be able to use it in real life contexts. But I would say if we go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to more traditional forms of English language teaching, I think it's been extremely linguistic and academic in its focus. Hopefully people will agree with that. Certainly here in the Middle East and across North Africa, I'd say that's probably true. But again, people can say something else if they feel differently. And I think it's really interesting thinking about also along those lines, cultural attitudes and educational systems in general. They've been traditionally quite top down. I'm very focused on exams and results. And sometimes that's restricted teachers' abilities to bring other aspects into their teaching and learning, such as developing things like autonomous skills. Teachers, I think, find that very difficult balancing that out. We've done a lot here at Macmillan Education more recently about advocating for more holistic approaches to teaching and learning of English, bringing in things like critical thinking, social and emotional learning, global skills, inclusivity. And we've been doing a lot of things around our Advancing Futures initiative, which people can go and look up as well, bringing things like global citizenship education, diversity, equity, and inclusion, these types of areas into the English language classroom. And I've invited Lhoussine to be a guest today because this is an area that he's done so much work in, this area of extending English beyond learning vocabulary, grammar, the 4 skills, and connecting it, I think, to teachers' lives and students' lives, and really pushing that in Morocco as much as possible. So that's my introduction. And of course, welcome once again, Lhoussine. Before we go on and chat about that a little bit and some of the things that you've been doing, I think it'd be really nice. I know I've seen some comments in the chat box there that people already know who you are. But for those people who don't know who you are, who might not be from Morocco, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I don't know how old you are, but you were born at some point and now you're here. What happened in between? What were your influences and motivations? And what kinds of things have you learned along the way?
All right. So first of all, I would like to thank you for the nice invitation here at Macmillan. And it's really a great opportunity to share with our large audience, the job that we do here in Morocco. So I'm Lhoussine Qasserras. I was born in Kenitra. Kenitra is a city that is 40 kilometers away from Rabat. And since my childhood, I used to hear from my dad, the little teacher, the little teacher. So that small or little teacher was in my mind here. Then I learned and I knew that the only profession that I can follow is to be a teacher. So my father's speech inspired me a lot. So in 2007, I applied for teaching position, and I was very lucky because at that time there was only one exam, and whole Moroccan students should apply, and 40 students, were accepted after they passed the written and the oral exam. Okay, so we spent one busy year, learning about the arts of teaching. Then the coming year, I was appointed to teach in Sahara. It's very far place from where I live. That place named Akka, and Akka is a small, town next to Tata region. But it was a great experience for me. So after 3 years there, I moved back to Saleh and Rabat, and then I improved myself, and I attended different, workshops, seminars, and conferences, and I was really inspired by trainers, presenters, lecturers. Then I asked myself, why not switching? Okay, why not focusing only on what is going on in the classroom? Why not also presenting and giving workshops? So after 5 years of teaching, I decided to not to switch, but to move, to another world, which is training and helping, both youth and teachers. And at that time, I had a fixed idea in my mind that the teacher's job is only inside the classroom. Okay, so I spent 5 years only focusing on what is going on inside the classroom. I was very professional at teaching the 4 skills like reading, listening, speaking, and the language or the aspects of language like grammar, functions, vocab. But after 5 years, there was, somebody who inspired me a lot. And I give it a second thought that it's high time. My job as a teacher is not only to teach the 4 skills, but my job is also to teach the life skills that our learners will need, once they leave the walls of the school. Okay. So one day I was teaching second back students, okay, back to 2000 and I guess 14 or 15. And there was a very nice student there, very calm student, but his level was not good, okay? He was a kind of a slow learner. One day, and after 1, 2, 3 days, he skipped classes, he did not attend. And after 1, 2 weeks, I asked his colleagues, his classmates, and they told me that the police caught him. And I got surprised. Oh my God, that learner was nice. That learner was coming in my classes, but his language, his English was not good. But I discovered later that he was affected and impacted negatively by the extremist group, the ISSI. It's we call it, yes. Yeah. So at that time, I said, oh my God, my job after 5 years teaching the 4 skills and the language, the aspect of language, but at the end, my learner is impacted negatively by the extremist group. So I was not doing my job, in the appropriate way. So that story affected me, okay? And I said, now it's high time to join some non-governmental organizations, to do voluntary work and to help students to challenge the challenge, because my job is not to teach English, but to use English in their everyday life, but to learn how to succeed, to learn how to face problems, to learn how to think about, solutions more than talking about problems. So that learner taught me a very good lesson, and hopefully now I moved, to many places, okay, either training students or teachers or engineers, thanks to that story of my student who was affected negatively by that extremist group.
Yeah, it's such an interesting story. And I haven't heard one like it before, actually. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I'm going to reflect on that one, definitely. I was going to ask, and I totally agree with you that I do think that English is not just about, being able to communicate with other people or being able to access information on the internet. I think it's about connecting. It gives you an opportunity to connect with people in a different way, I think. And people are putting things in the chat box there, I can see. I was going to ask you, because you made this decision to become a trainer, and I think that's an ambition for a lot of teachers, In fact, a lot of teachers that I speak to always say, how do I become a trainer? I'm really interested in becoming a trainer. Was that shift for you? Was it easy? Because I feel like that the route from teacher to trainer is not that straightforward. It's not that simple.
Yeah. Thanks for this interesting question, because many Moroccans and some teachers from other countries like Algeria, Tunisia, even Qatar and other countries, they ask how to shift or how to switch from being a teacher and a trainer. And they said, number one, it's passion. We love to change lives. We love to change ourselves. Okay, so spending your life just being a teacher, I guess after 5 or 10 years, you may get bored, okay, because we would like to change ourselves. How? In the very beginning, I was like a very professional teacher. I know how to teach reported speech. I know how to teach the passive voice. I know how to teach reading. But after 5 years, I said, no, all these things are not enough, because CPD is not only about teaching grammar and focusing only on what is going on inside the classroom and teaching students, but it's high time to switch, to change. So the first step is I started attending seminars and conferences, and I observed carefully how trainers, lecturers, and presenters, gave their interesting and interactive presentations. And then I moved to reading. Reading books about how to train others, reading books about public speaking skills, reading books about how to deal with adult learners, because my job in the beginning was about teenagers, okay, and children, but later it's about, andragogy. So I learned many skills and principles about, adult people. And of course, after all these things, now it's high time to engage in a professional program. And I studied the TOT program that helped me a lot. So reading, observing, and getting engaged in a program, now it's high time to put all these things into actions. And the first time I presented, I still remember it was in Rabat. And my presentation was about how to motivate students. And I still remember, when you give a presentation, it would be better to give it, in a short time, like 15 or 20. But I didn't know about the difference between giving a presentation and facilitation of workshop. So my presentation was more than 1 hour and a half. And I was very excited, but the audience felt bored, okay. But later I learned a lot about, the timing, the skills, the techniques about how to give presentations. So practice makes perfect. And hopefully, one presentation, the first workshop, the second workshop, we learned a lot from our weaknesses, and we turned these, weaknesses into strength. And my piece of advice, take the first step. The first step is difficult. The first step is hard. The first step is challenging. It's like the comfort zone. You are all the time inside the classroom. Now try to move to training, try to move to teach teachers, try to move to train, other, novice teachers, okay. And then you will enjoy and you say, oh my God, this is not that difficult. Just, okay. So my piece of advice, challenge the challenge. Take the first step, work on it, prepare very well, and go for it.
Yeah, and that's so many pieces of great advice there. Summarizing the first part of what you said, it's you are clearly a lifelong learner. That is really clear. So yeah, becoming a trainer, definitely studying, not thinking that, well, I can teach, so then I can teach teachers, because it's definitely not that. It's interesting that your first one was around motivation, because my first workshop for Macmillan as a trainer was also around motivation. It was in Saudi Arabia. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, and then I think, yeah, it's really good advice to get involved. Like you say, take that first step, apply to do a presentation at a conference, practice those skills. It's definitely the kind of job that you learn on the job. You just keep trying. And the funny thing about training is that no matter how prepared you think you are for a session, when you get there, they haven't told you all sorts of things. You're like, okay, it's going to be, they say, oh yeah, it'll be in a room with round tables and you'll have a projector and there'll be 20 teachers, and you turn up and it's an auditorium and there's 140 of them and you're on a stage and you're like, I was going to do interactive activities. Yeah. You just have to adapt on the spot. You know, it's that kind of job. I think it's an interesting job, and I hope lots of people who are listening are interested in getting involved in training, and good luck to them, I think. Yeah. Okay, good. So thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself. Let's think about the topic itself. Now, when we spoke before, we've met before. You told me that you're a big believer in an approach that sees teachers as positive change agents. You use that phrase, beyond their classrooms. So can you tell us a little bit about what this means to you and how you see that happening in practice?
Yes, so basically teachers wear different hats, okay? And I do believe that learning does not take place only inside the classroom, but outside. Students might be inspired if learning takes place outside more than inside, which means that we as teachers, we have to, set up clubs. We can call it grammar club, drama club, business club, etc. And students will feel motivated to learn more, because it's very boring to meet the same classmates, to meet the same teacher, to meet the same place. And here I can share a very interesting example that back to 7 years ago, we organized a competition, and we give it the name of Students Got Talent competition. And we asked, students belonging to 7 high schools in Saleh. Saleh is a big city in Morocco, and they competed in several, in poetry, in drama, in drawing, public speaking, poetry, etc. And what is interesting is that once we visited schools, for qualifications, we see, from students' eyes, how passionate they were, how motivated they were, because teaching is not only about teaching the language, but teaching is about trying to discover the potential, trying to discover the capacities of learners. And at the end of this competition, there was something very interesting that I will never, ever forget. Can you imagine that the competition went through qualifications, and the 20 students who qualified to the final, so 20 students who qualified to the final, they were not, I repeat, they were not good at English. Can you imagine? 20 students qualified to the final. The competition is about Students Got Talent. They were not high achievers, but they have talents. And at the end, 5 students competed in 5 types of poetry, drama, singing, breakdance, etc. And the 5 students, they were not good at English, but they have got talents, which means that we as teachers, we should not only teach the language, but our job also to discover the inside of the learner. Not all students will be teachers. Not all students will be doctors. Not all students will be nurses, but some will be singers. Some will be actors. Some will be footballers. And it's your job to try to find ways to discover these abilities. So what happened? And I can give you a name. The students who won the competition of the breakdance, we recorded his video and we shared it on social media. And by surprise, a hotel in Turkey called him. And he called him to come and work for a job there. And this learner went to Turkey, after 1-2 months of working there. And he said, teacher, you cannot believe where I am. So he was writing on Facebook again. I said, where? I'm in Turkey now. I am working. You cannot imagine that the competition that we played helped me a lot to get a job. So you see, we as teachers, we are agents of change. We are not only, I repeat, we are not only, our job is not to teach the language, but to discover, to trace what is inside, their abilities, their, what they like, okay, what they, they prefer, okay. And other students won the competition of, drama. And there is a very professional drama group in Morocco. They call them to act with them. Can you imagine that students will act with professional Moroccan actors, okay? So at the end, I have learned that we teachers, we should change lives. We should not only teach the 4 skills. Everyone can teach the 4 skills, but not everyone can change the life of the learner. So my piece of advice is to set up clubs. It can be an entertainment club, pronunciation club, drama club, and then you can get students out of the classroom. They can compete, they can visit places, they can visit non-governmental organizations, and they can learn about the importance of volunteering, okay? Volunteering is another skill that students should work on. Volunteering is very important. Volunteering is challenging but rewarding. It's going to help you. It's a kind of self-responsibility, okay? But students don't know these things. What they know is to revise, to get a good mark. But once they get their degree, it's just a paper, and then they discover the bitter reality. The reality is about volunteering. The reality is about collaboration. The reality is about how to communicate. And this what teachers should do. It's about life skills, changing students' lives.
Yeah, really, and so many great things that you've said there. I love that word discover. It made me think of differentiation as well. You know, this idea that some students are going to attach themselves to the language. We want them to attach with passion, right? We want them to be passionate about English. Some will do that through visual arts, some will do that through music, some will do that through dance, some will do that through academia. That's their choice. But like you say, I think it's we're opportunity makers as well. We're in that powerful position that we can look for ways to set them up with opportunities, and who knows where that will go. And like, you know, the example you gave, it is amazing, and I'll definitely highlight what somebody said in the chat box there. They were like, wow, so amazing. And it is, you know, that this person has had this chance to go to another country, that opportunity that never would have come up for that student, perhaps. And I'm sure there's loads of examples like that across the whole region. So yeah, amazing. It's really great to tap into those types of, I'm sure you've got loads of examples. But I do want to move on to talk about the story behind the Global Bus Foundation, because I'm really interested in this initiative. It's an NGO, it's English. I know, well, the other question I was probably going to ask related to the one we just talked about was about the context of Morocco itself, because I know that when you get over to Morocco, Algeria, French is very dominant. So English is kind of pushed to a third language, fourth maybe for some. I guess it would be Arabic, Berber, and French, then English. So I know that it gets pushed down the food chain a little bit. So I'm sure there's extra challenges with that as well. But you've set up this Global Bus Foundation around inspiration. So can you tell us a little bit about, well, what is the Global Bus Foundation? What do you do?
Yeah, so we as teachers, we have to belong to non-governmental organizations where we can do voluntary work, where we can inspire others, where we can change lives. So a couple of teachers, we were 5 teachers of English. So we said that, yeah, we have to do some activities and we have to, organize some competitions, some events, but we need an umbrella where we can do all these things, okay? And the the only way, I mean, especially if you are passionate about working outside the classroom, is to create or to set up a non-government organization. So Global Bus Foundation is a bus of inspiration, a bus of, influence, a bus of inspiring others. So basically, we focus on youth and teachers. And the main language that we use is English. So what do? We organize seminars in English, either for students or for teachers. We organize conferences, workshops, etc. For example, for students, we visit, Moroccan high schools, public and private ones, and we give workshops about the importance of communication or conflict resolutions, peace building, how to succeed in your life. These are part of, soft skills or life skills again. So every week or every 2 weeks, we visit some public high schools where we give workshops to inspire and to help students, and also to break the routine, okay? And later, we discovered that many teachers and youth would like to join us. So they started to believe in the work we do. For example, we not only work in Morocco, but also abroad. For example, we gave workshops in India, in Bangladesh, in China, in Tunisia, in Spain, okay? So that's why it's global bus. It's a bus moving from one place to the other. And in Morocco, hopefully, we move from Tangier to Dakhla, okay? And trying to inspire and to have positive impact on students, okay? And then our dreams start to grow and they become bigger, okay? So we decided to organize, and I know that there is a question maybe later about the conference. So we started to organize big events like the Rabat International Conference. And I can tell you that the Global Bus Foundation, back to 2017 up to now, it has a great impact on engineers, on students, and on teachers. I still remember before the COVID in 2019, I went to Tunisia. I went to 3 places there, to 3 cities like, Sfax and Tunis, the capital, and Binzart, okay? And I gave workshops to teachers and engineers and students, okay, there for 7 days. And they really liked the idea of setting up an organization, a non-governmental organization. And by the way, the workshops, the training was for free. Even the flight, it was, they didn't pay us anything. So it's volunteering. As I said in the very beginning, that voluntary is challenging but rewarding. So after I went to Tunisia and I facilitated several workshops. Once I went back to Morocco, then many organizations and many schools, many universities started to call me to facilitate and to give workshops. More than that, I was invited by a global association in Spain to present Morocco as because they were talking about voluntary. So Global Bus Foundation represented Morocco and in Spain to talk about voluntary in Morocco. What is voluntary in Morocco? How do Moroccan people volunteer? Do they like voluntary? How they feel about it? So this is rewarding. In the very beginning, it was challenging, but later we have got many rewards. And again, my piece of advice, and remember, I all the time when I give workshops or presentations, all the time say, remember that we as teachers, or let's say employees in general, we should not all the time work for money, because we are human beings. And there are some people, they need our help. For example, I can work 80% to get money, but the 10% of my energy, of my efforts, of my thinking, of my ideas should be given to those who are in need. How? I can visit homeless places. I can give extra hours for free. I can facilitate free. This is the success. Successful successful people have got one common characteristic, which is doing voluntary, helping the community. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it sounds like a great foundation. Is there any funding at all, or do you fund it? How is it funded, the activities?
Yeah, basically, up to now, when we do a certain, event, if our partners are private sectors, they sponsor, they give part of the finance assistance or help. Okay, but basically, what do? We, for example, if we would like to organize a certain event or a training for 3 or 4 days, we contact some schools that this event is going to be for free. So they give us the place for free, and they can support us also financially, like, accommodations, like, for example, giving them drinks and food, etc. If we do things for free, we find other partners that they support us financially for free. And it goes like this. Okay.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good. I've worked in the not-for-profit sector before, so yeah, it sounds familiar to some of the things that I've done. I worked in sub-Saharan Africa for quite a while, and I was doing lots of things. I work with street-connected kids down there, so yeah, it's so rewarding, and the things that you learn from those experiences are vastly different to what you learn in paid employment. Vastly different. The connections that you make, it's definitely a different way of thinking, and that feeds into employment, what you're doing in your job as well. It makes you think differently. Someone's put there modesty, and I think that's a great word to use. Retaining that sense of modesty and groundedness, I guess, is really. You mentioned the conference, and I think some people who are in the chat box have probably attended the conference before. But just before we come to the end, why don't you introduce the conference? Because I know one is coming up. I'm going to be a part of it, so I'm looking forward to being there. But why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the Rabat, International Conference is this year is going to be the 3rd edition. Okay, so it's going to be a 2-day conference. The first day is going to be face-to-face on June 5th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., where we are going to have speakers belonging to different countries. And the theme of this conference is about innovation, education in the post-COVID era, okay? Which means it's a very interesting topic, and speakers have got very interesting presentations to share with the audience. And the second day, it's very interesting, it's going to be online, and one of the keynote speakers, Mr. Nathan, will be with us, okay, talking about interesting things about innovation in education. And we are very glad to have you with us. And the most important thing about this conference, and to be honest with you, it attracts a lot of audience. And many people ask about this because we do our best to give a good quality. So we do our best to give a good service. Presenters will come up with very nice topics to share with the audience. The place where the conference will be held is a very spacious one where people can interact, especially there will be some workshops there. A very interesting interaction will be with the audience and the guest speakers. So here we would like to invite you on June 5th to come and attend our conference face-to-face the whole day. And
Rabat,
those are in Israel.
In Rabat?
Yeah, in Rabat, the capital, yeah. In Rabat, the capital. And the second day, of course, will be online starting from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And Mr. Nathan will be one of the keynote speakers, and we are very glad to have you, as I told you in the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. I have one quick question. So if if people are in Morocco, they can obviously go and attend the face-to-face day. If you're not in Morocco, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to be there in person, which is why I'm in the second day. Will you be like live streaming the content from the first day, or can you only see it if you're going to be there in person?
Yeah, very nice question. So, I mean, the first day is going to be face-to-face, but we are going to do our best. So we are going to record, it's going to be live, by the way, on the Facebook page of Global Bus Foundation. So the first day will be also live on the Facebook page of Global Bus Foundation and also the Facebook of the American TESOL Academy.
Okay, perfect. So people can connect with those Facebook groups. And they can watch it if they're not able to attend. Maybe they're in a different part of Morocco or they're in a different country. They can still watch that. And definitely the second day is online. So it'll be via Zoom like this. And people can sign up for that as well very easily. I will post all the links and the adverts for people to sign up as well. So if you're connected to me on LinkedIn or you're connected to Lhoussine, Facebook, LinkedIn, whichever, Twitter, you'll find the links even on the website for the Academy. I'll put everything on there as well. So it'll be nice and easy for people to find the conference and be able to connect with that content, I think. Okay, we're coming to the end. We've got a couple of minutes left. You are a very experienced coach and trainer. So I want to finish with some teaching tips. I like to finish with your favorite tips. Considering all the things that you've ever done, I think it would actually be nice to get 2 tips. One for perhaps new teachers. We didn't talk that much about the American TESOL Academy, but I know you train brand new teachers. So you might have a tip for new teachers and maybe another tip, which is for experienced teachers, if you can, or just one. It's up to you.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you. For novice teachers, they are very passionate about teaching and they would like to do their best to help learners. And all the time I start with variety is the spice of life. Variety is the spice of life. I tell all the time novice teachers, so when you teach, you are not teaching students. You are not teaching students. You are teaching individuals. You are teaching individuals, which means every learner has got his own style. Every learner has got his own different perceptions, different behaviors, different preferences, which means that we have to vary. To vary what? To vary our methods, to vary our roles of teachers, to vary our techniques, to vary our materials. And if you vary, when you are teaching, you are going to cater for the different learning needs because some students are visual learners, others are kinesthetic, others are auditory. So variety is the spice of life. And then novice teachers, they start to know that, so we have mixed ability classes, we have high achievers, we have low achievers. Some they like to learn once they see, some to learn once they listen. That's great. So you vary things. And for experienced teachers, it's not a tip, but my piece of advice is teaching is about the human touch, the human feeling, okay? So we as teachers, we have to set up a good rapport with our learners. We have got the experience of teaching, but we need that empathy. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of the learner. Some students coming from different backgrounds. Some are sick, some are poor, some are scared, okay? So we have to know all these things, which means that the human feelings, the human touch, the human emotions are more important than being an experienced teacher. It doesn't mean that you have been teaching for 7 or 8 or 10 or 11 years and you know how to teach. But number one, start with how to build a good rapport. Because if the learner loves you, loves your personality, he will love the subject. And if he doesn't love you, like your personality, he will hate English language.
Again, I think we've gone full circle back to that idea of connection. It's all about connection, right? Yeah. And then people are putting there, variety, they love it, about needs, about building good rapport. These are really important qualities for a teacher. So they're, I think, really great tips for us to come to an end. So thank you for joining us. We've been, 45 minutes.
Pleasure.
Perfect. We have loved learning about your experiences. We've loved hearing about all of the different things that you've been working on. Some great tips there at the end as well. The guys who have joined us this evening, there might have been some people on Facebook, I'm not sure because I haven't been over to check, but if they were, thanks to them for joining us as well. To the guys who've been with us in the room, thank you very much. If you're interested in the conference, as I said, keep an eye on our social media and we will put the links on there. Connect with the Global Bus Foundation, check out what they do on their Facebook page. I'm sure there's probably potential for you to get involved as well. I'm sure you guys are always on the lookout for people to, or teachers to get involved in volunteering or at conferences and the different things that they organize. So definitely connect with Lhoussine, tell him what you're interested in, see what opportunities there are. Again, we're not just opportunity makers for students, we're opportunity makers for teachers as well. I mentioned before that Macmillan Education is doing a lot of work around advancing futures. So do come to my session at the conference if you want to know more about that work. And I think that's, we're going to wrap up the podcast for this evening. I had a huge cup of hot chocolate and it's now at the end. So Lhoussine, thank you very, very, very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm looking forward to meeting you again at the conference. And I hope that we work together a lot more in the future. I'm already coming up with some great ideas for projects that we can work on together. There's one coming up actually within that Advancing Futures called Change Makers, which sounds perfect for us to think about working together in the future. Thanks to the guys in the audience, and Lhoussine, again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, and we are very glad to collaborate and work with Macmillan and with the trainer Nathan. It's a great pleasure, and we would like to meet you, inshallah, why not face to face in Morocco, and then we collaborate in a certain event.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that the region is opening up, I've started to travel. I've been to Saudi, I've been to Jordan, and Morocco is fast coming up on my list of places to go as soon as possible. So as soon as I get there, we will let everybody know and we will connect face to face. I cannot wait. Thanks again, everybody. And we wish you all a very good night. Lhoussine, thank you from me. And I will look forward to seeing you again next weekend. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, goodbye from Morocco.